I'm Juan T. Salter, host of the Here We Are podcast. Podcast is dedicated to exploring topics, history, politics, queerdom, perspective of Black folk, people of color, the American demographic, future, geography, local issues and culture, all things Gen X, whatever else we discover along the way. This series, episodes delve into a relevant social topic of late, especially in our political mindset that we have. Queerdom, specifically the idea that LGBTQ plus people recruit, as the right wing would call it, or groom unsuspecting youth into choosing to be queer. We at the Here We Are podcast are going to turn that fallacy on its head where it should be by interviewing actual queer folk themselves. Today, we have David, millennial, I think you're millennial, nurse, an excellent singer, voice, and he's going to graciously decided to have us interview him. Standard question we always ask on Here We Are is, how'd you get to be here?
Here in this physical space? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of part of my journey as a person and a queer person, but I was looking for a church years ago. This is more than 10 years ago, and had not been to a church in a while. And
are you from this area?
I grew up in South Haven, Mississippi.
Okay, you are from the area.
Yeah. And went to very conservative churches growing up. And at some point in my life when I decided to live as a gay person, I was disinvited from the church I was going to. By the pastor? Yeah. Well, so
goodness.
I would say, so maybe disinvited to, they didn't disinvite me from the church, but disinvited me from being a part of the praise and worship band that I led. So you can be there, but you need to be in the background. Right. Well, yes. You can be there, but not in the way that you have. And so there was years that I did not go to church, and I was looking for a church at the time that I came, and really just Googled gay churches in Memphis, and this was the number one
that came up.
Yeah. So and so I came one day in 2012 or 2013, something like that, and loved everything about it. First Congregational, and I loved most the beauty of the service, because it was different than the type of services that I grew up with. We had praise and worship bands that were electric and lights and all those kinds of things, and this was more liturgical, was in hymnals we used, but they're also a mix of music. Okay. At the time, it was Dennis Whitehead was our music minister. And Dennis liked a mix of secular, gospel, Broadway.
That's
cultural,
his background, yeah.
So there are a lot of mixes of different types of music that make the worship that he brought. And I thought, that first Sunday, that's exactly what I would like to see. That's exactly the way I would like to worship,
okay.
A mix of very traditional and very not, And I can also, it resonates with me that Tony, we do music sessions now, Tony, our senior pastor, he will make a concerted effort to make sure it's a mix of music. And he would really like it to be a mix of gospel and secular music, just to name it. And so I like that because there's a lot of beauty and faith and godliness that you can find in things that aren't labeled that way. So that's how I ended up.
Excellent. Where did you learn, or who taught you to be queer?
I think that is such an interesting question, because I feel like I'm still learning what it means to be queer. And I'll tell you, when I got to the church, I was already a full-fledged adult, so I had learned something by that point. But I feel like I've learned so much in the past decade from being here about what it really means. Because it's not just about who I'd like to date or who I'm attracted to or who I'd like to marry. But there is also this...
there's an aesthetic.
There's an aesthetic. But there's also a counterculture to being a queer person, and there's freedom to it. You're not locked into normatives that would keep you from experiencing God the way I think that you should experience him and him or her. And
you did it right there.
Yes, right.
Right there.
Went to a normative and then had to come out of it. Right. And I one of the best when you first told me about this podcast, I'm thinking of gay male examples. But in church just now, some of my best friends in this church are lesbian, and I think I've learned women. Yeah, I've learned a lot about myself from being friends with those, and they're not people that are anything like me or want and desire anything like what I want and desire, but they've taught me a lot about if you really do look at queerness as not just attraction, but also
not just sexual,
but also there's community, there's culture, there's art that's attached to being queer, and there's a state of mind that's really a freedom. You're free to think a certain way in all spaces. And I think the sermon was about creativity getting you through things. I think being able to be creative with normatives, just like being queer allows you to be, really does help you get through things. So I learned a lot about being queer in the last decade or so from people that are nothing like me and challenged what I thought queer even meant.
For what it was. Mm-hmm. Who were some of your role models for being gay or queer? Or did you have any?
Early in life, I think it was so funny. At lunch just now, we were talking about Will and Grace. I think early in life, you learned from TV, right? Will and Grace was on TV. I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Oh, my goodness.
So we would sometimes watch it when my parents weren't there because it was gay, and that's teaching the wrong thing, right? So my parents were pretty conservative in thought. I thought Sean Hayes was, and I still think, is one of the most genuine even he's acting a character, but I think that character has a lot built off of him. And there seems to be such a, I'm going to be me no matter what. So, and that's interesting that when you ask about queerness, I go to people that are living a genuine life, and that's what makes me, that's what I flock to. That's what I think I should learn from. Those are the people I single out and be like, I need to get something from that. And because it's really hard when you are a queer young person to live as yourself. Because
the society tells you everything but.
Right. And so when you find someone that authentically lives, I think for me personally, I said, oh, okay, he is that very feminine version of a gay male that most people would tell you to run from and don't act that way. But my mind said, what I like about that is how he's not overthinking what he's saying or doing. He's doing what he feels is the right thing, or what he's led to do creatively or whatever. And to me, that is a form of worship, when you are literally able to live as God made you, and live in a space very comfortable and able to make decisions creatively, intellectually, that aren't second guessed by, do other people agree or not. And so I think femininity in even gay culture is looked down on.
Oh, yes.
And I think that you could learn a lot if you remove that stigma from yourself and allow you to really experience who you are. Because if you're really hiding aspects of yourself, if femininity is one of those aspects, because everyone has
everyone has it.
Mm-hmm. If you're not experiencing yourself in the way you could, you're missing out.
What term do you find most comfortable with? Queer, gay, same gender loving?
So I think gay is an easy term. I think I wish if I had if I could get everybody on the same page, we'd all just say queer.
See, that's where I'm at. I love when we include everybody.
Yeah.
But I was when my last interview, I was like, man, that alphabet is getting so long. Right. Come on, just one word.
It's inclusive. I get it. It is inclusive. They want to, I think the thing about the alphabet is that you're naming people, right? So people aren't left out because specifically I've named you as part of this community. If I just said queer, maybe people are like, am I a part of that or am I not? But to me, the ease is great, right? But also there's something very beautiful about the word because it also means strange or out of the ordinary.
And queer doesn't necessarily mean you are queer, but you're an ally too.
Yeah.
That's like, it includes all of us. It's not just, oh, I like men, I like women. That's my best friend. I'm queer too, because you come for them, you coming for me.
I'm down. I'm down with that. I think it's very beautiful, the word, and so I wish everyone would get on board with that. Gay is an easy one. Yeah. I'll go with that. I think, funnily enough, in my work life, I don't put labels on it. I purposely don't just say, I'm the gay this or whatever in talking to coworkers. I say stuff like I talk about my husband, or I just will talk about my brother who does drag. And I think by not just labeling it something and just talking like it's normal, I think that to me is my form of protest a little bit. Like, I'm not labeling myself. I'm just telling you what life is for me, and that's having a husband and living the way that I do.
I feel you. When did you come out? Or wait a minute, I'm sorry. How did you come out? Not when, how?
I did not make like a huge statement. I came out when I was 16. Came out to friends in high school first. And never really came out to my parents, although they found out through people I hung out with or whatever. That was the experience it was. But I never made like a big statement. I just told people, and I started dating and lived as authentically as I could, and that's what it was.
Do you have any regrets about your process?
No. My parents didn't take it well, and I did a little bit of church therapy for a little bit until I decided I didn't want to do that. And I wish, so I guess my regrets are as I'm trying to, I wish other people's actions weren't what they were, but that's not a regret on mine. Because I was very proud of myself at such a young age that I said, okay, this is who I am. And I found it was easier to live life in high school beating people to the punch and say, yes, that's me. And actually, I gained a lot of respect from my peers, being the only out gay person in my school or grade at that point. People respected that, and I didn't get picked on. It was just, I am who I am. I'm my own person.
Do you have any advice or wisdom you'd care to share with a younger person in the community that might hear this podcast?
I think it's really, it would be obtuse of me to say, just be you. I think obtuse because people's circumstances are different than mine were. I, at the end of the day, had a support network, even if they didn't agree with me. Not everyone has that. So it's very, it can be, to me, cavalier to say, just be you and don't worry about it, because people have to worry about it for safety reasons sometimes, right? So I would say, whatever your circumstances, do what makes sense for that. And so if it's not safe for you to be your authentic self, don't, and if it is, and you feel like you have this support network, find someone in the realm, in your space, that you say, look at and you say, okay, they look like they have no worry about what other people think, and they look free, and they're being their authentic self, and try to pick up some of that and integrate it into your own self, or make it reflective, so that you can understand what you're hiding and what really is. To me, that's when you really meet yourself and really probably meet God too.
Well, David, I want to thank you for being on Here We Are, and it's been a wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, that's wonderful.